Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, King Dia, Lord Frey, Grim Clover, Internet Blood Sports, City of Steel, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! We have a situation here. We have a situation in which a transgender individual is actively attacking Japanese artists on Twitter for daring to depict Bridget from Guilty Gear as male. What a disgusting idea. How dare you take this proud female character and depict her as a man. It's not like there's 20 years of fighting game history that kind of showcases the character's background and personality and general lore regarding the subject. Bridget has been female from the very beginning. You can look at any wiki you want. The Western audience has like cracked the code. They've proven this without a shadow of a doubt. Like, you can't dispute this on Reset Era or Twitter or on any other forum because you would be instantly banned. Bridget is trans. Okay, so all kidding aside, it's kind of interesting to see the extreme lengths that the SJWs are going in order to try and push their narrative, because I think the Bridget thing died pretty quickly. I was focused more on the Juniper thing because that more offended me more on a more personal level, considering that was a Nintendo release. But when it came to Bridget, I was like very, very upset that SJWs honestly tried co-opting this character and like pushing some ridiculous narrative onto him. So seeing them actively move to harass like fans of the character on Twitter, like drawing fan art depicting the character like biologically accurately as a man, is amusing to me because it kind of showcases how desperate these people are for relevancy, right? Like, these people are desperately trying to meme their conspiracies and narratives into reality. And in the Western world, it almost seems like it almost worked because there were a lot of people who were like adamantly like uh pro pro Bridget transitioning, right? They liked the idea of Bridget becoming trans, or at least pretended to like the idea. I don't think the vast majority of the people who, or anyone really wanted Bridget to be trans, but there's always this like niche group of people who will always kind of like latch onto the idea and promote it, even though they don't play Guilty Gear, they don't know anything about Bridget, they don't know anything about the character. If they did, they wouldn't be pushing this narrative. That's the trend we've been seeing for like a long time now, is that like SJWs are trying to corrupt existing properties in any way they possibly can. And this seems to be like their new tactic of just bullying people into Japanese creators into pretending that characters are something they're not. Whether it's like Link being a girl, Bridget being a girl, Juniper being non-binary, whatever the fuck that means. Like like Shiver being trans. Like, when does it end? When are we gonna like just really put a stop to this stuff? And I do think there is like there is like going to be more pushback towards this, especially on the Japanese side. But I think like more and more Westerners are going to stand up against it, because I saw a lot of people get uppity over the whole Bridget thing. I saw a lot of people get uppity about the whole Juniper thing. If Juniper was a more relevant character, there would have been more people like disputing the fact this idea that she was non-binary from the beginning. Instead, like, we had to like wait and then play the game and then like realize that like nothing, it wasn't actually true. Um, like, really, Juniper is only relevant because of this weird conspiracy, right? That like she's actually neither male or female, even though that doesn't make sense for the setting. That is a trend I've been noticing with these people, honestly. Like, is how they have to shove their politics into everything. Like, I haven't been into One Piece lately. I came across like a piece of fan media that tried to present Name as being like pro-choice. I mean, pro baby killing, like pro abortion. Her body, her choice. And it just kind of made me think, like, would Name an orphan really realistically support abortion in the world of One Piece? And I'm inclined to say no. Considering what we've seen, considering what I know of the franchise and the characters, I'm inclined to say no. But like, really, it doesn't actually matter because it's not relevant to the character at all. It's not relevant to the world they're setting. I would never like uh in theory, like if I was working on a live action One Piece, I would never have Name go out of her way to say that like, oh man, I fucking love babies. I think killing them is wrong because that's not really true to the character at all. Because we know what the character is, we know what they want to emphasize with her and her ideas and the way she fits into the setting and with the rest of the Straw Hats. Uh, doing making it overly political would just not really contribute anything to the actual plot. And that's kind of how I see this thing with Bridget, with Juniper, with Shiver, with Link. Is just like people are demanding changes that wouldn't really radically change the way we view the world or really change the story in any meaningful way. Like really, like it's not something that anybody wants to see. And they try to write it off as like subversion or just trying to keep the audience surprised or something. But like really, what they make is just not appealing to anyone. And what The Last of Us Part Two did, I think, really strongly emphasizes that, in which they took the original game and just chose to shit on the original characters in favor of hyping up the new one, Abby. It was it was an interesting example of what happens when like an SJW gets gets like complete control over a property, kicking out all like the real writers and like all the people who like made the original like generic and asinine as it was, like successful with its audience. Like it is it is becoming more publicly known, I think, that certain people in these creative fields absolutely cannot be trusted to create a quality product. I I actually just showed last night. I went to see my grandma and I brought her a copy of Spy Family Volume One, and I was really surprised how interested she was in it to begin with. And I would argue Spy Family is relatively soulless. I think the creator isn't all that invested in it. Like I keep seeing him give interviews about like how he doesn't like the characters and the world and how like he kind of feels like he's sold out or whatever. And I kind of understand the feeling, but at the same time like he made something that was actually appealing to people. All right. He made something about a nuclear family like infiltrating a school with like real family problems with like, exaggerated manga nonsense. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of it's interesting how even something like that, something that was doesn't really have heart to it, or at least like not like real genuine passion, like can still come out so much better than what like SJWs are putting out with on a regular basis. You know what I mean? Like Spy Family from a technical standpoint is brilliant, right? With like great setups, great jokes, great resolutions, great characters, great artwork. Like if it just had a little bit more passion, all right, I think it would be like a great manga, and I do like it a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I certainly don't call it one of my favorites. I never have, but I do enjoy it quite a bit, and it's such a sharp contrast, I think, to like all this garbage we see from the Western industry, right? The Last of Us Part Two, and the Twitter sphere, right? Like just seeing like the things that people talk about, the things that people want to push, like things that people want to see is just the controversies we get into. It is downright ridiculous, right? And like I feel as if the Japanese can't be unaware as to why people are like preferring their products. All right, they have to be under they can't be ignorant as to what's going on. That they have to understand that like if they want to keep like staying relevant and growing their business, they're gonna have to like oppose the woke movement, oppose these woke creators, and just send them packing. And to its credit, like they don't seem anywhere near being able to infiltrate the manga industry. They would have to take over like hundreds of companies. They would have to infiltrate like at all levels of government and all these things. Um, Really, I've seen no evidence that wokeism is taking off in Japan at all, other than like some Tokyo politicians. And like honestly, it's gonna take like what, like 30, 40 years for them to like infest it and like ruin everything. Um, by that point, I think the woke movement will have collapsed in the West. I don't see it lasting another 10, 15 years, honestly. Like, I mean, even five is kind of a stretch to be honest with you. It already feels like it's kind of in the downswing. I I'm curious, like, what's going to be like the end point for this, because for me this was kind of like a big deal. Like it wasn't a big deal for most people, but it kind of was like a thing for me where it just kind of shows you just how irredeemable these people actually are, in which they'll actively go after Japanese artists for drawing a character, even if you go along with the line that like the line of logic that like Bridget is trans in the Western release but isn't in the original Japanese, which is not true. um Even if you go along with that line of thinking, like you're harassing a Japanese author, a creator, like an artist who is understandably going after the Japanese canon, right? Um, so it's interesting to see that there is going to be an increasing divide between the East and West, and I do think a lot of people in Japan are going to get very angry at this. The people I saw defending this, people on like 2chan and stuff like that, they obviously seem like English students who were like trying to infiltrate these communities and trying to push their narratives. I imagine they're kind of exposed the same way that like the shills are exposed on 4chan, right? Like they're pushing obvious talking points and like nobody really likes or agrees with them. That's kind of my view on like the Japanese that are like allegedly woke, right? You know, Western educated, born and raised in the West or whatever, or like you know, extremely westernized, you know, indoctrinated by their parents. Like there are the woke empire is going to collapse eventually. Like the long and short of now, right now, is like when and how that's going to happen. And I do think it's going to happen soon, sooner than we expect, honestly. I myself like am not particularly concerned about anything I'm interested in being infested by woke culture at all. You know, like I'm not a 40K fan. I'm not a complete cuck who like expresses my masculinity by buying expensive plastic toys and painting them or whatever the fuck Nick Rekieta does over there. I'm nothing I'm interested in is going woke in any way, shape, or form, and I'm very proud of that. I had very, very good taste in media, right? But for most people who like consume whatever garbage is like thrown in their face, you're gonna have to deal with this stuff for quite a while, another decade probably. And I don't know. I don't feel sorry for you, honestly. All you had to do was stop watching Star Wars, stop watching Star Trek, stop watching this or that. Like again, just you need. It's going to be a long, hard road until these people are dealt with, but let it be known that it will be happened. It will happen.